Hello, beautiful souls. So, I'm gonna read and try to elaborate on a bit of a download that I got the other day while I was out hiking and just sitting in one of my favorite spots. And I don't have the ability on my phone right now to record videos, so I just recorded on a voice app, and then I wrote it down when I got home. And so I wrote it as it came through, which sometimes the language isn't always clear and right. So, bear with me when I wrote it down. But one of the examples I have before I will get started was like a pole and the two poles on the side. So like the pole, the central pole was like an example of our internal central, which I talk about, which Isis, the crown, Thoth, the Christ, the Word, the Creator, the central chamber. And then like the right Luciferian Horus Ra and the left Set Ahriman and chaos. And something coming up about Osiris's brother, which I mentioned in my last video, which really was after this. Something about the assassin overthrowing every human pharaoh, and that this is a storyline in here in this earth, when we have the human pharaoh, the human king, the central chamber, the priest, the priestess. There's always this Osiris brother, assassin, overthrower. And so that came up, but I'll just read what I channeled. So, be awake for your own ancestors in you, for all of the struggles and the fights and the shite they went through. So, this is us. It is the only way to get in touch with your ancestors. So basically, like, be awake for your own ancestors. And I hear a lot about channeling and about, feeling your ancestors, which is things that I learned like in my Native American beliefs, like heard about them, didn't get it long ago. And I think shamanically a lot of people don't get the depth and the width and the height of the fact that we are everything. We are all the ancestors. The ancestors are all around us in everything. And everything here. Whether that be, all the particles, all the waves, the internet, your computer, the ground, the air, the water. And we tend to think of it as more of the organic stuff, but it's not. It's everything. And I explained before how even the dust from space and comets and things like that, the stars come down in the rain. And they're here being part of this whole experience with us on a microcosmic level. And so when you understand and open up to everything being a part of you, through me it was through comprehension of my ancestors, which I knew this and knew a lot of other concepts, but I didn't embody them fully until I found my own center and I understood that the love light was BS and the dark, same thing. It was not a balance. It wasn't the center of me. And I'm not going to go all into, well, everybody's center and fulcrum's different, because I know everyone's center and fulcrum is different. But if you're yin-yanging to too much darkness or too much lightness, you're either in your Luciferian or your Satan, your Ahriman, dematerialized path. And that's the way to go for some people. And the love, light, ascension, perfection, dying in the sun, is the way for some to go. So I'm not here to argue about that, because I get a lot of dragon people that are like, they just need to be their Ahriman. They just need to air it out, so to speak, and be the seen, the Satan. Just like the Luciferians, the light, like the city is set on a hill that can't be hid. They've got to be seen. 444. But, like when you're in the center, a lot of times you won't be seen, and you won't be seen and understood for what you are. And when you get there, it doesn't matter, because you're complete and you start to be able to communicate with everything around you. So I'm sitting at this pond and the sun's right on the water in front of me. I'm sitting on a rock, so grounded. And then I'm listening to the birds ping back and forth, calls across the water, and just absorbing everything. I'm this earth, this rock, this sun. Everything is happening all at once. So how are these birds and these sounds and these bugs not ministering to me and speaking to me? And when I did that was when kind of everything opened up and 6 pages worth of stuff poured through. So I will continue. When you always look at the ancestors and them without, you need to bow to the soul within. Then everything is in here and you become that current. The current between above, below, within, without. Everything is here, everything is central, and everything is in you now, happening at once. Everything is happening at once. Everything is here for you at once. And when you embrace that, it gets a lot easier. When the current on earth gets separated from the divinity of oneself, the higher realm, then the current of the whole earth falls. And that is the purpose for or of us to staying ignorant here. Now I know sometimes my language doesn't come through clear, but comes through sometimes a little like a Yoda speech or something backwards. But that's just how it comes in. So I just got to read it as it is. So when this current, the highest good of all, your internal center, gets separated from your divinity, your upper realms, and from the grounding of the earth, the lower realms, that is how the whole earth is cut off from themselves, and therefore it affects the whole earth as a whole, and our purpose here as a whole. And that is done on purpose by these left and right hand polar sides because they know about the central chamber. But they want to keep the game of the yin-yang, the red-blue, the red-white, the political game going between the Luciferians and the Satans. That's how it goes here. And you may not understand that language because you may not understand that Catholicism and these big churches that preach and push love and light and behaving and goodness are there on purpose to oppose the other side. And in fact, the churches have both within them, and that's how they keep their current and their currency and their money and their power. So again, it is those double sides, the dual sides, through Jupiter, through the aspects of the storm god. Jupiter has a storm on it. And also both aspects of the 9 and the ruler of the 9 planets, Jupiter. And there needs to be a balance on both sides. So when this is coming through, I've been learning about these Jupiterian yin-yang things, worship and rituals people do. And I've shared that, before, that's been what's been coming through here since the eclipse for me. So the dual aspects through Jupiter, through the aspects of the storm god, and also both aspects of the 9 and the ruler of the 9 planets. There needs to be a balance on both sides. The Ahriman and the Lucifer, the Satan and the Lucifer. Thus, and I don't know why this came through this way, because Thoth and these different things to me more represents Mercury, but when I was studying oneness, I realized that Thoth represented everything in the central chamber. So maybe that's why it's coming through like this, but it was thus Thoth and Ibis and Mercury, the throat, the speaker, the channel, in order to order the word or the voice as an instrument. So, let this channel for you as you take it. I'm going my own way with my own things. You need to marry, unify, and bring the two sides the duality together in the Hermetic tablets. So not sure why it brought into Thoth in the Hermetic tablets, other than years ago I used to work with that. I used to just listen to it. And that actually, Thoth tablets is actually about your central chamber and about yourself. So those things, all the things it's talking about, even in there, the tradition of holding your brother up, if he's gone to the dark side, holding your brother up before the 9, the council of that 9 they're speaking of, and how to help your brother pull him into the central chamber. So I'm thinking maybe that is what I'm hearing about, because long time ago I did the ceremony of the 9 that Thoth suggests, and it's speaking of the planets, and it names like these Urgal and different ancient names for them, even which would have been even before the time of Egypt. So these lords of the yin, the yang, there would have been, representations of that on earth also, not just heaven. So again, so there has to be a ceremony of the two sides, Jupiterian flow. Both sides have to be balanced, not just the central chambers of, and it said here, the pyramids embodies the chambers, the Christ, the pyramids embodies. So there has to be a ceremony of the 9 for both sides, not just the central chamber, but bringing the both sides of the 9 to the central chamber being, and I spoke about some of that yesterday. Ceremony is important, and if only, for the theory of above, below, within, without. Now, I don't understand why when I channel that it's sort of repetitive, but I notice other channels do the same thing. The language is a little different. And that can only be done fully when one is fully present within the self as the current, the central chamber, the soul, between heaven and earth, the grounding of you, the yin and the yang, the you, above, below, within, without. And I've said in other videos I've made about bowing to the soul, because that's how I found my central chamber and stay within it, is bowing to my soul. And then, as I said, that opens up like a living thing, because it is matter, material, and the mother, father, unite that Tao, that yin yang, and then the pole begins to clear in the chakra, and your connection to your God chakra and the highest good of all in and through you appears that way. So this is just, as far as I'm concerned, my evolution onto that path. So Dao Mu, the goddess of the North Pole, Deo Mu. Now I'm not going to argue about what I'm receiving, because the pole star has been called many things for a long, long time. This is how it's coming in for a reason, which is like the yin yang signs, the moon signs, the goddess of the polar star. So it's Do Mu, or Dao Mu, which to me right away was like, what, the Tao? So the polar star not being the moon, but being the Tao, or the wholeness of both chambers as one, as the Atman Guru inside you in your chest. So let me see. The polar star within the belief systems of ancient mystic shamans of the Orient and the East, before the shamans were wiped out 5,000 years ago, within those regions I told you of, by emperors or sun worshippers. So the polar star is representative of the yin-yang poles of oneself unified. And since that polar star is also directly the ancestorial stairway to heaven, then essentially that is the pole in you. Essentially, that is the ascending and descending ability of the ancestral realms and the Nordic heaven. I don't know why it came through that way, but I would say it is how one ascends and descends, how how the masters ascend and descend within you while you're here on this earth, your higher selves. And I shared before that mine were Oriental, but I don't say who they are. I feel that that would be a distraction and something I'm not willing to open myself up to around other people yet. But it mentioned here Nordics, and I understand with another channel the Nordic heaven came through, meaning the sides of the north, the city of the great king, which is in the Judeo-Christian Muslim script, but as different mountains, as different central chambers and different words. So I can't tell you why it came through the way that it did, just that it does. So the Nordics important. Ascending, descending of the masters in your soul, your central chamber, your Christ, the crystal beings, you being the bridge to above below, the current sea. Originally in the shamanic open-air burial, what would have been taken from the animals' corpses, besides, of course, the flies and the ants get to you, but what would have been taken from the animal corpses first by the birds would have been the eyes. And now, weirdly enough, just this week, I heard Freya Norling, which I'll post her stuff because she's very shamanic. I've listened to her for many years, going in and out of my ancestral studies, my own studies with Scandinavian shamanism. She's talked about this, but then Spirit brought up again with images and words. So originally in the shamanic open-air burial would have been taken from the corpses, the animals, the humans first would have been the eyes, which is why they were put on lifts, because there would have been other bugs and other things that would have attacked right away if they were on soil. So the ravens, the blackbirds, the predatorial birds, they go after the eye first. And in Nordic and Scandinavian traditions, that is sacred, because the messenger from the sky is going for the eye immediately, for the soul. It's the first thing that they take out on a prey. And I think that's what, this is getting across, is some stuff I heard last week, in which I believe why my Nordic Scandinavian ancestral stuff is coming up in this too. So the open-air burials, the birds would originally go for the eyes, the soul, which is why they were considered messengers and angels that carry the soul up into the sky via their own body. Because the light, the sulfur, the Lucifer of the body is in the eye. So the ascension part is in the eye. Now we also know the soul is also the mother. So the shaitan would also be present within that darkness, the soul. So the bird carries the soul because the light of the body is in the eye, or the soul. The soul is the seat of the person's soul. The eye represents the seat of the person's soul. When you look into a person's soul, when you look into the black center, the black sun of their eye. So this is also relates to the whole shamanic above, below, within, without, and the recycling of the soul or souls here. So still looking beyond those things and having to backtrack. And I'm not sure why Spirit said that. I probably will understand later. But it was talking about in my personal space right now, why I'm having to backtrack into a past storyline, which is crazy because a friend just channeled that today, and even the whole Jupiter and ceremony and everything that I was thinking of doing. So I know Jupiterian work right now with this moon coming up is really important. So I'm glad to be sharing that in whatever juju way you do stuff, your thing or your beliefs with Jupiter. It's important right now to look into that. The black sun of the eye, I thought that was very interesting, ancestral too, because those things have been polluted by other channels and other belief systems and governments, because governments do that with everything. So this also relates to the whole shamanic above, below, within, without, and the recycling of the soul. So still looking beyond these things and having to backtrack within me, having to backtrack for other people and shite, which I guess has to be part of the whole for the mission while you are here. So I am just going to walk in the knowledge I am given and leave it all and leave it at that. I'm going to leave it all or leave it at that. And I need to come back here and do ritual. Now this is my higher selves saying through my ancestors, I have to come back here and do ritual. So I know what I'm here for. Like, I'm in my dragon head and I'm perfectly happy, sound, safe, and fulfilled there. Like, I know what I came here to do without any doubt. And that was killing me my whole life. You know, just like looking for that, like hitting my head against a wall and looking for my purpose. And, you know, because of all the things I went through, I found it. So when Spirit's talking about backtracking into my past or into things that hurt me or seeming to be looping cycles, and I will put up that other woman's channeling on this too, because I know it ties in, is needed. It's needed for my ancestors right now. It's needed for me to do ritual. And I thought that last year, you know, and try to incorporate the people from my past into the ritual, but they're so into their yin-yangs, belief systems here for power that they're really never really going to get. The temporal power, that Jupiterian storm they're so scared of that they did ceremony with and for, they don't understand, you know, so I couldn't help them with that. And yet it's telling me the cycling back to do the ritual here is to tie in all of those things, and I just need to keep doing it within myself on the land. I'm thinking about it, forming it, and how it should flow. They're talking about the ritual. We're talking about the ritual. What time of the year it should be done. Maybe again, right around June the 10th, which is also, if you look up ancient shamanic juju spell, the requirements fall on April 30th, 30, and June the 10th, and I believe maybe August the 10th or 11th, but around that time you'd have to look it up astrologically. So that would be the most auspicious time for a juju spell or a Jupiter spell. So they're saying it's the most auspicious time for the Jupiterian flow. To the polar star, the mother, and beyond. To the creator, it is open again in that time, and maybe again in August. So that would be 3 times for the juju ceremony, being at its highest possible energy. All ancient archetypes of the self, the energy, that is all shamanism. And all shamanism is but you, and you have to carry the current in the tradition, the charge. And that is why the shamans, are wiped out, because they carry the current, not just the traditions. So it's Spirit saying it's not about the traditions, it's about the current you become between heaven and earth when you do these ceremonies from the center. I'm not talking about like my ancestor did ceremonies for war, and I love high lungs rituals. Look into that. And it isn't just about, you know, collecting life force or killing the best warrior or the warrior who the juju, the spell chose, and, you know, having the shaman take the life and then the goddess come and carry that life force to the currency, to the higher realm. That's all done within you. And those rituals my families do, my ancestors do, are about carrying the current of the human being, of the life force, to the earth and keeping it in the tradition. But the traditions are turned into physical rituals every time shamanism falls, it's because it turns into these ritualistic yin-yang sides, and it's not feeding the current, which is what the earth is telling me it needs more than anything right now, is for everyone to be in their center and to work in their central chamber for the good of the whole current. So you have to carry the current and the tradition, the charge, what I'm charged with. And that is why they are wiped out, the shamans, because they carry this current, this charge. Not just the traditions, the religions. All enemies under your feet. Quotations, this in quotations. All enemies under your feet is basically you grounded, and everything that did not ground you and was taken from you and from your life and your life force, it needs to go. And energy is grounded by putting the enemy under the feet or subduing them, whether that is figurative or literally. Shamanic, literal, death. Shamanic and or literal death. Death within oneself. That's what we go through here as Fool to King and the towers and all these things within the archetypes of the human body and the star systems, the cards we read. So yes, putting all things under your feet. This is what that means. Subject it, make it loyal, reduce it to serve you. So both sides of these currents have to become one within, and have the negative and positive this way, which my person kept saying, drain the battery, flip the polarity, because they wanted me to be the opposite current, which isn't true to my nature. So I can't be. Either I be me or I don't be me. Either I get the job done or I might as well go, because I can't be what someone else wants me to be, and they're attracted to what I am, not what they want me to be. So as soon as they got what they want me to be, they would have no interest in me anymore, which is how those kinds of people are, because they're living in lack and negative, you know? Not judging, just saying it ain't the best for the earth right now. The Tao, or the Tao, T, is Mu. Other people can disagree with that. I'm just channeling my channel. So original mother, mother goddess, sea, heaven, primordial, heaven and earth, the archetypes, the arc, and it came out as archetypes of heaven, the arc. In the heart, the center, therefore the Venus, the Mary. All those that complete or encompass the mother goddess, one in the soul in the central chamber. But you cannot forget there is always current above a current. So a current C. C over a current C. And it's spelled at C-S-E-A. And these are just microcosmic reflections of something larger and larger, as we, as the microcosm, we and the microcosmic selves, like us, must be. So the male, the female is included in all. One is not above the other, just different operations and poles and polarities within the storylines here. When one is above the other, there is not a balance. Deo Mu. They keep saying Dao Mu, Deo Mu. The mother, she was originally mother goddess turned into T something, and then was turned into the Tao, like what we call the Tao. But we refer to balanced ages as matriarchal. Why? Because that's what the mother also does. She creates the third, the balance, the child within oneself, the central chamber, the Christ, the Horus. So we need an age of more currency above and below within the human being, taking charge, standing in the gap of heaven and earth as the shamans, the angels, the messengers, the teachers of the soul, so that the balance happens. And these came in different parts. So like, I think I'm going to stop the video and do part 6 on from here. Thank you.